We are back on the Spin Room. Thanks for staying with us. It's time for our weekly segment, The Social Contract, where each week we discuss in depth at one of the core issues that divides Israeli society with one of I-24's news correspondents and a special panel of guests to break down the story for you. This week, we're looking at the weak position of the left in Israel and its failure to regain power from the right. Joining me in studio is Yotam Yakuba, Public Activities Manager at Peace Now, and Dr. Eylon Schwartz from the Shaharit think tank. Thank you both for joining us.
Hi.
Also here to guide us through this complex topic is I-24 News anchor Jonathan Regev. Jonathan, thanks for being on here.
Thank you.
Let's first take a look at Jonathan Regev's report and break it down when we come back.
Political left camp in Israel strong enough to come to power anytime soon? Is there really a left-wing agenda in Israeli politics? And why does the opposition on the left seem to be so weak? Just like everything in Israeli politics, the answer to that is quite complex. First, we have to realize that the political left in Israel is quite different than the one in other parts of the world. While in other places, issues of economy, healthcare and welfare top the agenda, in Israel the main focus is still on security. The divisions between left and right are mainly concerned on these issues, most notably since the Six-Day War, and the question of the future of the lands that some say Israel conquered, while others say Israel liberated. The Labour Party is traditionally the leader of the left bloc. It led the country for its first 29 years, but since 1977 has been almost entirely confined to the opposition. The last time its leader was chosen to be prime minister was still in the 20th century, in 1999, and that term lasted less than 2 years. Judging by history, and also by some of the latest moves by the party, we have to ask if this is really a left-wing party.
In a peace agreement, if you make peace, why should you evacuate? I think the dynamics or terminology that they are used to speaking here, in terms of you make a peace agreement, you evacuate, are not necessarily true. If you make a peace agreement, then you can find solutions that do not require evacuation. We are making peace.
Gabai's statement drew fierce criticism from some of his colleagues, including from within his own party, which for the past 2.5 decades favored a two-state solution and the dismantling of most settlements, at least those who were not part of the settlement blocks, which might be annexed to Israel in a future peace deal. The settlement remark was not the only controversy on behalf of Gabai. Soon after came another one.
Netanyahu told a rabbi, whispered it in his ear, but the TV picked it up. He said, the left has forgotten what it means to be Jewish. And do you know what the left did in response? We forgot what it means to be Jewish. It's like because that's what they said about us, from now on, we're merely liberals. It isn't true.
This comment, echoing a similar one Benjamin Netanyahu made 20 years ago in his first term as prime minister, made clear that Gabai is not looking to lead the left, but is looking for centrist voters. What many voters are saying is that if it walks like Netanyahu and looks like Netanyahu, why not simply vote for Netanyahu instead of voting for someone who is imitating him? The numbers show that this policy is not exactly working for Gabai. The Labour Party currently has 24 seats in parliament. The recent polls give the party 17 seats if the elections were held today, only at third place. Why is that? There is already a party which appeals to the liberal voter who sees himself as centrist or even slightly leaning to the left, but not the extreme left. This is exactly the ticket provided by the Yesh Atid party. Every poll shows that Yesh Atid and its leader, Yair Lapid, are the real leaders of such a centrist, moderate left bloc. So, to sum it up, we can say that a united left camp front is something we will probably not see anytime soon. The differences between the various players are just too wide for them to cooperate. Good news for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu? Not entirely. With Labour moving right, a center-left coalition seems to be the greatest danger for him.
So, Jonathan, thanks for that report. I mean, let's start with the million-dollar question. Why can't they get back in power? I mean, except for those short 2 tenures of Ehud Barak and before that Yitzhak Rabin, the left hasn't been in power since 1977. What is the main problem?
I think that the right-wing strategists and politicians which speak of the left as one camp, they're doing a fantastic job because the left is anything but a united camp. There's literally nothing connecting the Labour Party with Avi Gabay. We've seen some of his controversial remarks with the joint Arab list on the far left, or even Meretz, which is a center-left, we should call it. I think that some people in Meretz, when they heard Avi Gabay say we should not evacuate settlements, I think they said, this is the guy that is supposed to lead our bloc? No way. As long as this bloc is so divided from within, I don't see them really coming back as a united bloc. Labour, perhaps with other parties, that's another story.
Elon, Jonathan raised in his report the issue of how the division in Israel is different. Left in Israel is someone who is left on the Israeli-Palestinian issue, whereas in the rest of the world, usually, it's about more socioeconomic issues. Is that what makes it so hard for the left wing to get power again? That different kind of division?
Oh, there's so many things that make it hard for the left to get power in Israel, right? We don't have enough time in the studio to go through it all.
We'll try.
But I think the point that you're making about since 1999 they haven't come to power points to the fact that this is not just a tactical question. It's not a question of let's move a couple of votes here, let's move a couple of votes there, and everything will work out, right? It goes into a much deeper place, and a deeper place is also a place that has to do with what's going on in other countries as well. It's not just in Israel that you see a move to the center, a move to the right among the electorate, where you have a population, right, that is far more traditional, far more nationalistic, far more worried about security issues, far more also particularistic, right, in ways of looking at things. One of the things that are central to the left coalitions in Israel, well, let's say the United States, we've got New York and we've got Los Angeles, or we've got in London, we've got in England, we've got London, is that these are cosmopolitan groups, and live in an echo chamber, and that echo chamber constantly feeds off of one another, and what they bring to the rest of the population is a message that comes from that echo chamber, and it doesn't connect to the rest of the people. You're criticizing Gabay, but Gabay's trying to break out of the echo chamber.
All right, well, so you sound kind of hopeful. Yotam, what do you think? I mean, by the way, is there a leadership problem here? I mean, there's not really a young generation like the big guys like Rabin and Peres, no big names.
Maybe we don't have the big generals of the other years, but I think maybe the problem is the brand. Maybe the brand has been harmed by right wing. What the right wing leaders, for years, they're trying to harm the brand, to crack it open and to make the left not legitimized. And they try to make left with anti-patriotism and not Zionist. And when they make the people in Israel think that being a left-winger is equal to be treason.
So you're saying it's the right's fault of delegitimizing the left?
This is my second point. When the left hugs this oppression and makes it depression. Yes, yes. When we see our leaders, part of the leaders in the Labour Party, in Yesh Atid Party, when they hug the oppression and make it depression, they basically adopt the ideas of the right, and nobody wants the imitation.
I'm going to let you continue this thought after we come back for a quick break. We'll be back to move more on this issue, and afterwards, the Larson Report with our diplomatic correspondent, Nina Larson. Stay around. What you need to know, the news, fast and to the point, and the in-depth interviews that will keep you in your seat from the people that you trust. I-24 News presents The New Rundown, co-hosted by Nurit Ben and Kalev Ben David, every Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, only on I-24 News.
Unflinching, opinionated. Weeknights, David Schuster and Shayna Estulin bring you analysis, interviews, and opinions that connect us to the Middle East and the world. Watch Crossroads weeknights starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, only on I-24 News.
I'm Emily Francis on I-24 News. Join us on Trending right here on the show that shines the light on the many amazing people doing positive work to inspire. This is the show about building bridges.
Weekdays at 8 a.m. Eastern, only on I-24 News. Politics, economics, business, and technology. Get the real news and the real insight about what's happening around the world. Michelle McCory breaks down the top stories of the day from the Middle East to the U.S. Weeknights beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern.
I'm Tracy Alexander for I24 News. Join us on Perspectives and get the whole picture as we break down the day's top stories from all angles.
Perspectives, Sunday to Thursday at 5:05 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for staying with us on the Spin Room, and we're back with our weekly segment, The Social Contract. Elon, you wanted to respond to what Yotam just said before the break.
Yeah, with a lot of respect for Yotam, I think I disagree with him on the point that that the problem of the left is that the right is really good at what they do, and the left just kind of falls over. That is to say, it assumes, therefore, that there's no problem with the messages of the left.
Right.
The left is totally fine. Its only problem is got a weak backbone. And I think
So you're saying there's a problem with the message?
There's a problem with the message.
You mean with the agenda itself, with the stance?
Agenda itself, exactly.
Yeah, so I would like to respond to that.
Go ahead.
If you have a problem with self-esteem about what you sell to the public, you sell an idea, you're an agent, you're saying what's right and what is wrong. And if you're not confident about what you're doing and what you're selling to the public, you don't need to be in politics. And if you're trying to intimidate what the right wing do, you can just vote for the right. So the left cannot be afraid from the right. It's just can't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Why should they vote for Gabay? I mean, you know what? I want to bring up what's going on abroad. You have two candidates in similar positions, people who are on the left but are not in power, Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn. But they are doing well. Bernie Sanders is one of the most popular politicians in the United States, maybe the most. Jeremy Corbyn going up in the polls, even some say maybe challenging Theresa May. They are wearing their left-wing agenda on their sleeves. They're not trying to be conservative or go to the center. Well, that's what Gabay is trying to do.
Yeah, I don't think that that's a correct parallel in the situation.
Why not?
For a couple of different reasons. First of all, because I think that, as was pointed out before, is that at least the left, center, and right, and I think it's important to point out, we're not just talking about the left and right. Left and right is an American concept. Left, center, right, a number of different parties that are out there, and so it's a mistake to put it into that frame. But here we're talking about security issues. We're talking about economic issues. We're talking about identity issues. We're talking about religious issues. All of those things combined fall on the left and right about those.
I would like to add, I would just want to add, you know, if we're talking about the issues, and as Bernie Sanders said, let's talk about the issues. The left wing have a lot to offer in every issues. And when you make polls, what do you think about public transportation and Shabbat, which is an argument on debate, matter of dispute in Israel? What we get is the left is much more popular than the right. But the problem is when the right wing harms the brand, people do not want to affiliate with the left. So when we're talking about every issue as a part, the left is winning in the polls. But we're talking who you're going to vote in the elections, people are afraid because the right wing said, don't vote to the left because they're going to bring ISIS to Jerusalem because Yossi Yona is part of Hamas and all kind of incitement move that you just can't accept.
Because people do not vote on issues. People vote on identity. That's what people vote on. And the problem is that the identity of Israelis is Jewish, is security driven, is connected to a sense of tradition that connects to Jerusalem and all these places that are around that. That's what people vote on. And the left constantly is saying that we're talking about issues. We're not talking about issues.
Yeah. Jonathan, you wanted to respond?
One other perhaps point, you know, that we were saying that the left camp is very, very weak, but if traditionally we see the left is for territorial compromise and the right wing is opposing that, who gave back most of the territories? Who gave back the entire territory Israel conquered in 1967 from Egypt? It was Menachem Begin who gave back the Sinai Peninsula, and Ariel Sharon, still leader at the Likud at the time, who gave back the Gaza Strip, who gave back Hebron to the Palestinians.
What does that mean? Was the right wing adopting left wing?
Exactly.
What does that mean?
Pretty much. Not the entire thing, of course, not all of the ideologies, but some of them. Yes, if you would have asked someone at the Likud 25 or 30 years ago, do you see your leader as returning some of the territories conquered in 1967? And yet, they will say, hell no, but it happened.
But most Israelis think if it was up to them, to us, they're in favor of a two-state solution. They just don't think there's a partner on the other side. The issue is not, most people are not in favor of the greater land of Israel in terms of holding on forever. They just don't think there's one to give it back to. So the idea that it's just a question of territories and the compromise that's involved in it, that's not what people are voting on either.
Quickly?
Identity is not a political opinion. It's not the same. You can have one opinion and a different identity. You can be ultra-orthodox and be a left-winger, and you can be a settler and vote for the Avoda, the Labour Party. So they're not the same. People that want to say they're the same, they're just misleading the public.
You know, you brought up an issue that even people, about the two-state solution, there's a large support for the two-state solution. However, the left has a problem communicating to people, particularly in the periphery, not only Mizrahim, just people in the periphery who do support the two-state solution, but the left is seen as condescending, as elitist. Why is that?
Go back to the echo chamber and what I said at the beginning about being cosmopolitan in its view. There are people that live in the world, there are people that go to different places in the world, there are people that are involved in international news, there are people that are very concerned with human rights throughout the world. Most Israelis start with their kids, start with their neighborhood, start with their families, and start with the Jewish people. That's the level, and eventually get to the larger circles as well.
Avi Gabay is exactly that, though.
That is what he is. That is correct.
Do you
That's
think Avi
why
Gabay could bring people from the right or Mizrahim
I
to
really
his
hope
camp?
he will succeed, but it's not the issue. You said that people support the two-state solution, but you can you can talk the talk, but can you walk the walk? Can you evacuate outposts? Can you do the real deal to make it happen? And this is the gap we need to find a bridge.
Yeah.
If you want to do a two-state solution, you need to give up some lands. You need to evacuate illegal outposts. This is part of the process you need to do.
Elon.
What we need to do is go back to some very basic democratic ideas that aren't just questions of rights. They're questions of the fact that we believe that we can make a future with the other citizens in this country. A lot less talking to, a lot more listening with, right? A lot more understanding why it is that people don't support the left. It's not something that the left does. They don't go out there to listen. They go out there to preach.
Jonathan, you brought up the issue of religion, and you know, Gabay, one of the controversial statements he said about how the left, echoing what Netanyahu said 20 years ago, how the left has forgotten to be Jewish. Is this now because every party has to include a more Jewish identity in its platform than dozens of years ago? Has that changed now in Israeli society?
I think so, because you see people want to attract that votership.
That's the only way to get the vote?
Even Yair Lapid. We know exactly who Yair Lapid is, a very, very secular leader. His father was perhaps led the most secular party we ever had here. But he knows that he has to attract a certain votership that is not necessarily religious, but traditional. So he's trying to do that. Avi Gabay is trying to do the same.
Very quick reaction, quick. 10 seconds.
In Shacharit, we have data about this questions. People's Jewish identity, especially in the center-right, are more important to them than their Israeli identities.
Right. Last comment from you, Yotam.
Leadership is not about what people want or what people need, and you need to do brave decisions. If this is what we're offering, brave decision. I know it's not popular today, it's going to be in the future.
Okay, all the time we've got, thanks to our guests, Yotam Yakuba, Elon Schwartz, and Jonathan Regev. Stay with us. When we come back, The Larson Report with Nina Larson. You don't want to miss it.